A hauntingly captivating tale. Evelyn, a young artist with a spirit as vibrant as the colors on her palette, sought inspiration in the secluded corners of the world. Her latest journey led her to a remote village, a place seemingly untouched by the relentless march of time, nestled deep within a sprawling, ancient forest. She rented a quaint old cottage, its walls steeped in history and silence, the perfect backdrop for her creative endeavors. The days were a painter's dream, filled with the golden light filtering through the dense canopy and the gentle murmur of the wind. But as dusk settled, casting long, skeletal shadows across the land, a different kind of sound began to permeate the tranquility. It was a faint, sorrowful weeping, a sound of profound grief that seemed to emanate from the dark woods, stretching out behind her temporary home. The first night, she dismissed it as the cry of a nocturnal animal or the wind playing tricks on the old house. But the sound returned the next night and the night after that, each time a little clearer, a little more human, a little more heartbreaking. Curiosity, that double-edged sword of the artistic soul, began to gnaw at her. Unable to resist the pull of the mystery, Evelyn followed the sound of despair one moonless evening. It led her deeper into the forest, past gnarled trees that seemed to twist into grotesque shapes in the darkness, until she stumbled upon a derelict, forgotten shack, even older and more dilapidated than her own cottage. Inside, shrouded in dust and cobwebs, she found a single object of note, a large portrait, its surface obscured by a heavy velvet cloth. With a trembling hand, she pulled the cover away. The painting depicted a woman of breathtaking beauty, her face a mask of sorrow, with large, tear-filled eyes that seemed to hold an ocean of unshed grief. Each subsequent night, the chilling symphony of sorrow returned, but it was no longer a distant echo from the woods. The crying grew louder, more insistent, seemingly originating from just outside her window. Then from within the cottage walls themselves. The sound was so close, so intimate, it felt as if the weeping woman was right there in the room with her. A palpable sense of dread began to seep into Evelyn's waking hours, clinging to her like a damp shroud. She found her gaze drawn repeatedly to the portrait, which she had brought back to her cottage. An unnerving transformation was taking place. The painted face, once a static image of grief, began to shift and change, taking on a terrifyingly lifelike quality. The sorrow in the woman's eyes seemed to deepen, and to Evelyn's horror, the painted eyes began to move. They would slowly, deliberately follow her as she walked around the room, a silent, weeping spectator to her growing fear. The delicate brushstrokes that formed the woman's lips seemed to tremble, as if on the verge of speech. The climax of this slow-burning terror arrived one fateful night. As Evelyn stood before the bathroom mirror, splashing cold water on her face in a futile attempt to calm her frayed nerves, she looked up at her reflection. Her heart stopped. Standing directly behind her, where only the empty hallway should have been, was the weeping woman from the portrait. Her form was translucent, ethereal, yet her sorrow was devastatingly real. Tears, like liquid diamonds, streamed down her spectral cheeks, but instead of vanishing, they dripped audibly onto the wooden floorboards, each drop a tiny hammer blow against the suffocating silence. Evelyn spun around, but there was nothing there. She was alone. A frantic sob escaped her lips as she looked back at the mirror. The woman was still there, her mournful eyes fixed on Evelyn's, a silent plea in their depths. Panic finally shattered Evelyn's composure. She had to escape. She bolted for the front door, her only thought to flee the house and the suffocating presence within it. But as her hand reached for the doorknob, every light in the cottage extinguished at once, plunging her into absolute, impenetrable darkness. The air grew impossibly cold, and a disembodied whisper slithered through the blackness, echoing from all directions at once, a voice both sweet and sinister. "Don't leave me alone," it pleaded, a sound wrapping around her, a caress of pure dread. Rooted to the spot by a fear more profound than any she had ever known, Evelyn could only listen as the weeping intensified. Now, coming from the direction of the living room, from the portrait itself, a sliver of moonlight pierced through a gap in the curtains, illuminating the easel. The transformation was complete. The portrait no longer depicted the beautiful, sorrowful stranger. Now, staring back from the canvas, was Evelyn's own face. Her features contorted in a mask of eternal anguish, her eyes streaming with painted tears that would never cease to fall. The original figure had vanished, her sorrow finally bequeathed to a new vessel. The cottage fell silent, the weeping finally stilled, but a new, more terrible silence took its place. The silence of a soul trapped in a prison of canvas and paint, condemned to cry for an eternity. If you ever find yourself walking near the edge of a dark, quiet wood and you hear the faint sound of crying on the breeze, a sorrow so deep it chills you to the bone, turn back. Do not let your curiosity guide you. Never go closer. That sorrow is not a call for help. It is a lure, a timeless, patient hunger that is only searching for a new voice.